know. Okay. So what is Node.js? If you have any idea, you can raise up your hand and answer the question. What is Node.js? Mr. Sam, can help us. Wow. Yeah, that's correct. It's a runtime environment for JavaScript. What's runtime? The normal runtime we know for JavaScript is the web. The normal runtime we know for JavaScript is the web, and that's because most of the time when we are talking about JavaScript, we are talking about front end applications, right? Website, but it's also possible to run JavaScript outside of the web browser environment. So, and this is made possible through the use of Node.js. So I'm going to share my screen for people online. Come in. Yeah. If you can see my screen, please signify. Okay. So Node.js is an open source cross-platform JavaScript runtime environment that allows you to execute JavaScript code outside of a browser. So with Node.js, you're able to execute code outside of the browser environment. So what are the key features of Node.js? First, it uses the Google Chrome V8 JavaScript engine. It is event-driven. It is single-threaded I/O input-output model. Then it's also cross-platform. That means it can run on different operating systems. So if you have Windows, if you have Mac or your Linux operating system, you can still run Node.js. That's what we mean by cross-platform. So we're getting into what event-driven is and what is single-threaded and other information about Node.js. So these are the main components of Node.js, which is the first one is requests, which is very common. Like you guys already know this already. Like when you want to communicate with the server, you have to send a request, right? You have to send a request, and that request can come in different forms. So we have get request, post, delete, put, patch, and other methods. So for those that are new to backend, this is how backend works, basically. When you want to, the main reason why we need backend is just we need an environment to securely process users' data. So that's why we need backend. If not for that, we can do everything in the front end, assuming there's no hacker in the world. Assuming we don't have any bad guys, we can just do everything on the front end and we are good to go. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So we also need like a single source of truth, because even when you store information on the front end, it becomes very difficult for you to retrieve. Just imagine everyone is storing their data on their system, and you need to query something. That means you have to reach out to the person. What if the person is not online? That becomes a big problem. So that's why we need a backend. So on your backend, you have different components. You have like database, you have the runtime environment for your code. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So in the case of Node.js, the first thing is the request. When you want to communicate with the backend, you need to send a request. Okay, this is what I want to do. It's possible to read data from the backend. It's possible to also update data, delete data. You can, in fact, you can even, create new records when you communicate with the backend. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So, but one thing is that the way we structure this course with decoupled front end and back end, so you don't need to worry about how the front end works. Basically, your own is just provide the endpoints. Just provide the endpoint for the front end developer. They know what to do already. Once you provide your endpoint, okay, this endpoint for login, endpoint to check balance, endpoint to reset password. So they know what to do already. So you don't need to worry about that. Oh, we lost power. So we have to hold on for a few seconds. I'm very sorry. We will soon be back. Okay, give me 2 more minutes. Okay, I'm back. Yeah. So let's talk about request. You guys understand what request is all about? Is a request is used to establish communication with the server. So what kind of communication do you want to establish? Do you want to get? You want to delete? You want to read? And also one thing again is that although all these things are all these methods are there, but as a normal user, I might not be able to use all those methods. You can't just try to delete data from the backend and you expect that it will go through without the right. There's something called permission and there's something called rules. There's something called authentication and authorization. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So all those things you have to also consider them. Although you can use all these methods, but are they available to you? So that's it. So when you send a request, there's something called Node.js server. A server accepts a request, processes, stores, and returns a response. So when you send a request to the server, it accepts it. If you send it in the right format, actually, because you also have to consider the format that you are sending. If you are sending the wrong request, the server might not um, return any information. Do you get? So you need to also consider the kind of request that you are sending. So it's going to accept the request, processes, and store it in maybe in a database. There are different forms of database. We have persistent storage. I also have an in-memory, all those terminology when it comes to backend. So, but don't worry, we still get familiar with them. Then there's something called thread pool. A thread pool is a collection of worker threads that execute tasks in parallel without blocking the main thread. One thing about Node.js is that Node.js is single threaded, right? So when you send a request and that request, it's going to like take some time based on the processing and stuff. There's something we call input output. So if you are trying to maybe like read a file and that file is very big, right? It's going to, create more threads so that you can easily, process those data. Then there's something called event queue. So when this event queue is just basically used to queue incoming requests and send them to the event loop. So the event loop is like a big clock or a machine that is constantly checking the callback queue. Like, okay, is there any task that is available for me to execute? If there's any task, it's going to pick it, move it to the call stack. Do you get? So it can be processed. So all those things they work together. When a request comes in, the server picks it up. Then, based on the kind of request that you send, if it's going to be like, it's going to create more thread or use the normal thread, then it's going to store it inside an event queue. Then after storing it inside that queue, it's going to move it from that queue to the loop is going to move it from the queue to the core stack so it can be executed. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So, but all these things at first it might seem a bit difficult, but when you start using Node.js, it will come to you automatically. So let's move forward. So now for you to build a Web3 backend application on Arbitrum, you can use different backend technologies. You can use PHP, you can use Python, which is Django or any framework you want. But for this program, we're using Node.js, right? You also need a working RPC, which is a remote RPC provider. You need there are a lot of RPCs that you can check online. Also, there are official RPCs that you can use. You also need to use something like Ether.js. You can use Web3.js, but for this course, we're using Ether.js. You can use Solidity or Rust, other technology available for writing smart contract on Arbitrum. But this is what we'll be using for this program, basically. So what do you need to do? For you to start developing, you need to set up your environment. And once you set up your environment, you'll be able to start coding. You know, we talked about runtime, right? So apart from having a code editor, you still need a runtime that will run your code for you. So what we do is that we go to Node.js website, we get the Node.js runtime. Once you get it, you can install it on your system. I'm going to send you a video to check that out. But if you don't want to go through the stress as a beginner, you can use the GitHub workspace that I've been using, CodeSpace, right? So CodeSpace comes with Node.js by default, so you don't need to worry yourself about installing the Node.js runtime environment on your system. And also, if you have maybe your system does not have enough memory, so CodeSpace is a very good alternative. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So let me show you what I mean. If you go online now, interesting. Okay. If you go online, you check install Node.js. So you can check the official website and download for your operating system. It's just like installing a normal app. But I'm still going to drop a video for you to learn how to install it. Okay. Yeah. Try to close some of this. Okay. Now, once you install Node.js the right way, you have to install it the right way, because you can install it the wrong way and it will not work. Okay. Let's navigate to the project folder. Let me try to zoom in. CD19B. So you check CD19B, you check training 19B, you'll be able to access the code for today's class, which is just how many lines of code? Less than 8 lines of code for you to get started. So I will show you how to run this code first before I also like teach how to create your own code. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do npm. Let me navigate to that folder, cd codes. Okay, npm install. So once you are in that folder, the next thing to do is run npm install under the codes folder. Just install it. Okay, is it installed? Let's check the package.json. Oh, there's okay. Okay, is it installing? Nope. There's something wrong with this code. Let me try to Okay, let me try to delete it. I think that's a bug. Okay, what I will do is that I will try to do npm init. So this npm is going to start a new project for you. So just click on enter. Let me copy this code. Just click on enter, 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 enter. Don't worry about it. So we have a new package like this, right? The next thing to do is for us to, let's try to install the dependencies. Actually, I don't think I have any dependency for now. There's no dependency. So let's try to run this. Say Node.js. So you can see that the moment I run node index.js, it is it's echo something out. Server starts at port 3000. So let me close that. Let me shut down the server using Control C. So you can see that this is what we have here. Server starts at port 3000. I can come here and change the. Can you see my screen? Online, right? Oh, can you guys see my screen now? Can you guys see my screen now? Yes, okay. So as this server started at 3000. So when it's okay, just once you enter the 19b/codes folder, what you do is just run npm install. I'm sorry, npm install. Yeah. So then once you run npm install, next is node index.js. It's going to run the codes inside the index.js file. Then you can see that we get server started at 3000. So you can just click on open in browser. So if you click open in browser, you'll be able to see the results of your code in the browser. You can see that this is the result of the response from the server, and that's because we asked the server to output that message. Do you get me? That's what we asked the server to output. Now, what I will also do again now is I will try to shut down the server one more time, and I will change the port number. Let me change the port number to port 8000, and I'll say node index.js. You can see that your application running on port 8000 is available, open in browser. So this time around now, it's not running on port 3000 again, it's running on port 8000. But because I'm console logging server started at 3000, you can still see server started at 3000. But in actual sense, it started on what? Port 8000. So always be careful of your console log and all those information. So you can just edit it and save it. So in case of next time, the next now for us to do is let's try to edit some of this info. I can say my first Node.js server, and I will save it. One thing that you can see that this, if I refresh this browser, it is still showing me hello world, right? And that's because the server is not listening for changes in these files. So it's not automatically updating itself. And that's how most server works, except you use third-party tools or stuff like that to listen for changes in files. Then once there's a change, it's now automatically rebuild itself, then adjust accordingly. So in this kind of situation, what we can do is we can just shut down the server again. Let's start it back. You can see that instead server started at port 8000, and if I open browser, you can see that there's a new update that my first Node.js server. So this is it, and it's very simple to work with. But what if I want to? I'm developing and I need to update something very fast, and every time I'm shutting down the server, it's going to get boring. So what we can do is we can install a package called NodeMon, which is monitor. It monitors your. Let me show you in the slide. It monitors your directory for file changes. Once there is a change in any of your file, it's automatically going to retrieve the server and adjust accordingly. So what to install NodeMon, just say npm, let's shut down the server. You can say npm install NodeMon, and that's all we have. So we've installed NodeMon. If I say NodeMon, instead of using node index.js, now use NodeMon index.js. Let's see what we have here. NodeMon is not a command. Oh, wow. We are running into a problem. Okay, it's actually, it should be under dev dependencies. Let me undo here. Yeah. So it's normal dev dependency, right? Okay. Let's put under dev dependencies, not under normal dependency. So let's say, let me remove it. Let me say uninstall, right? Is it uninstall remove? Okay, uninstall. We want to install the NodeMon. So what we do now is that we say npm, then save. We're going to use this flag, NodeMon. It's going to save. Okay. Oh, sorry. npm install NodeMon, then hyphen save. Yeah. Okay. Save dev. Sorry, save dev because the dev dependencies. You can see it has moved to under dev dependencies instead of normal dependencies. So let's try to run it again and see what we have. Oh, NodeMon command not found. Okay. Whoa. I'm coming. Easy, right? Okay. Coming. Okay. So this is what we do. Start, right? Yeah, NodeMon index.js. Okay, yeah, thank you. So this is what we have to do for it to work basically. So we had a script, a start script, NodeMon index.js. Let's name it dev instead of start, because start majorly most time is for starting your server in production environment. So let's use dev. What we do now is we can now do npm run dev. So you see it's working now because we're able to run the scripts. I mute it. Okay. It's able to run the scripts, and what we do is open browser. Can you see my first Node.js server is running on port 8000, and anytime we make any change, let me say my second Node.js server. The moment I save, you can see there's an output restarting due to changes. If I go back to my browser and I refresh, you can see that I can see my second Node.js server, and that's how to basically automatically restart your server whenever there's a new change. But still, you still need to refresh the URL so that it can reflect the change, because it's not automatically refreshed. So I can see my third Node.js server. And what I would do is I can just come and refresh. You can see I can see third Node.js server. And that's all for today's class. But let me explain each line of code to you in this under this folder. So this HTTP library, it's for managing HTTP requests. And what you do is that you create a new server. Once you create a new server, then you now specify where it should listen for requests from. Do you get? You can specify ports, anything. There's a range of ports. The maximum is 65 something. So it's so you have to make sure that it's within that range, 2 raised power 16 or something. Yeah. 2 raised power 16. Let me calculate it here. So okay, yeah. So this is the maximum port number -1. You have to move on from it. So this is maximum port number that you can use. You can use from 0 to this particular number, but there's something called standard ports that are also used by other services on the system, like port 25 for SMTP. There's also port 80. There's other ports that you have to know that you cannot use. Do you get? Although if you are not running that kind of server on your service on your system, you can use it, but it's not advisable. Do you get? And also your system uses other ports to run other services, or there are other programs using certain ports. So you must make sure that this port is not conflicting with something on your system. Do you get me? So that's how it works basically. And let me check. The next thing is, once you create a server, you put a callback. So this function, you put a function there to specify how you want the request to be processed, and also make sure that you end the response using the response.end method, the end method. Then you can also do some console logging and stuff like that inside the listen method. So that's how it works basically. So in our next class, we'll be looking on how to build more advanced applications, how to create an endpoint that allow people to check for their balance on Arbitrum Sepolia. The code is available already under 20B. You can check it out in case you want to learn. But we're not using normal, we are using Express, which is a framework for writing backend applications using Node.js. So it makes stuff easier than using this normal HTTP library. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So it makes everything easier, and it comes with a lot of tools to work with. So if you have any question, please feel free to ask. You can ask, and if you have any question, you can ask. And also, the way this backend class is that we are taking everything a step at a time. So don't worry, it's going to be few lines of code. We are not going to write in too much, but the main purpose that most of the things that we want to do, we've done it already. If you check the next class now, you can see that if you check the next class now, you can see that we are using Peters JS, right? And we've done something like that before. So that's it basically. Any other question? Okay, someone's asked, who is this? Okay. Oh, sorry. Please, if you have any question, feel free to ask. You can raise up your hand and I will pass the mic. Let me allow everyone to talk. Is it possible? Okay. Thank you. I'm just explaining that you can use any port you like. So the reason I changed the port number is to show you that you can use any port number within the range of 0 to 65. I calculated it earlier, 65535. Do you get from 0 to 6? But there are some reserved ports that you cannot use. So if you use them, it might clash with services running on your system already. Do you get me? Yeah, that's it.